Hello everyone! So it's finally here, my Cleveland Barons video. Now you may be wondering why I'm wearing a New Jersey Devils jersey. Well, you see, it's the closest I have to a Cleveland Barons jersey. As far as I'm aware, the NHL never made Cleveland Barons jerseys that were for public purchase, as far as I'm aware. So with that said, let's get into this. I got my notes. So, the Cleveland Barons started off in 1967 as the California Seals, the Oakland Seals, the California Golden Seals. They went through a lot of names. And they're most well known for not being very good. They played in the Cow Palace, which is where the Sharks played their first few years in the league when they came into the NHL in 1991. And they also were known for the white skates. They had white skates, and they weren't very pretty at all. So the California Seals lasted from 1967 to 1976. So you just switch those last two numbers around, and there you go. At that point, the NHL was competing with the WHA, the World Hockey Association, which was the first real rival to the NHL since the NHA existed 100 years ago about. So, it was the WHA against the NHL, and when you're against the NHL like that, it's going to be a little tough, because it's the NHL. But they posed a serious threat, and the Cleveland expansion into Ohio was purely to compete with the WHA. Because the WHA had a team in Cleveland, but the NHL moved the Seals to Cleveland just to compete. And as a result, the WHA Cleveland team left Cleveland. It's happened before, The New York Islanders, the only reason they exist was so they could have a team in New York in the Nassau Arena. I want to say Nassau, but it's wrong, I'm sorry. But they had it in the Nassau Arena, so they couldn't put a WHA team there. That's the kind of stuff they were doing. It's not illegal, I'll give them that. But the team in Cleveland, the Cleveland Barons, lasted from 1976 to 1978. So they were only around for about 2 seasons. You'll see why as I start explaining this stuff. Their first year, so the 76-77 season, they played 80 games, they won 25, they lost 42, and they had 13 ties. This is before overtimes and shootouts and all that stuff. Overtime was really only for playoffs. In their second year, the 77-78 season, also their last year, they played 80 games, they won 22, they lost 45, and they tied 13 once again. They were out of the playoffs both of those years. They had their coach, Jack Evans. That's a familiar name. If that name is familiar to you, good. If it's not, do a little research on Jack Evans. So their overall stats were 160 games played, 47 wins, 87 losses, and 26 ties. Now let's look at attendance. The 76-77 season, also the place the Cleveland Barons played was the same place the Cavaliers played until that Coliseum got demolished. I want to say 24 years ago. I might be wrong on that. But their first year, they had 6,194 people on average in attendance per game. Their second year, they had about 5,676 people. So it's not a big drop, but it's still a significant drop. With all of that, they were selling tickets, but the problem was they were a losing franchise, and people don't want to really go see a losing franchise. It's especially in Cleveland. Like the Vancouver Canucks, they've been bad for years. They've been showing some promise lately, though. They were in a playoff spot for a good part of the season, but we're not talking about this season. We're talking about 40 years ago. For years, the Canucks have been a bad team, but people still want to go see them because they have Pavel Bure. You know, they had Mark Messier, even though Canucks fans don't like Mark Messier. I'm not the biggest fan of Mark Messier. But, you know, they had Messier. They had Cam Neely up until he got traded to Boston. And overall, they had players. That's the problem. The Cleveland Barons, unless you look on Hockey Database like I did, I'd like to see one of you people name one player from the Cleveland Barons that's significant. Because none of these guys are Hall of Famers. Here's the top 5 players for the Cleveland Barons. Dennis Maruk, 156 games played, 64 goals, 85 assists, 149 points. That is the leading goal scorer in the Cleveland Barons team franchise. Yeah. Mark Fiddler, 124 games played, 40 goals, 44 assists, and 84 total points. Al McAdam, 160 games played. So he played every single game in the Cleveland Barons history. 38 goals, 73 assists, and 111 points. Bob Murdoch, 128 games played, 37 goals, 45 assists, and 85 points. Dave Gardner, 151 games played, 35 goals, 47 assists, 82 points. So, as you can see, they were not the best team. They did not have the best thing going for them. They were purely put there to compete with the WHA. Because the NHL did not like the WHA until the WHA folded. And when they folded, we got the Edmonton Oilers, which gave us Wayne Gretzky. We got the New England Whalers, which became the Hartford Whalers. We got the Quebec Nordiques. And we got the Winnipeg Jets. And the Winnipeg Jets and the Oilers are the only ones that are still around in the WHA, from the WHA, but I will rebuttal what I just said, because the Winnipeg Jets we have now aren't the same Winnipeg Jets we had 25 years ago, because those Winnipeg Jets are now the Arizona Coyotes, formerly the Phoenix Coyotes. They just moved from Phoenix to Glendale, so it's whatever. The Winnipeg Jets we have now were formerly the Atlanta Thrashers. When the Thrashers moved to Winnipeg, they became the Jets. So they're Jets 2.0, if you want to call it that. And so that's, let's see, the Flames moved from Atlanta to Calgary, and then again the Thrashers moved to Winnipeg. So that's twice Atlanta's lost a hockey team to a Canadian franchise. Sucks to suck, I guess. But with all this said and done, after their final season concluded, the Cleveland Barons relocated from Cleveland and they merged with the Minnesota North Stars. And so they, all those players went to the North Stars, so they got traded or they went to another team. So in some really weird way, the Cleveland Barons franchise is a part of the Dallas Stars franchise. Give that some thought. That's really weird to think about, but it's fact. And the Dallas Stars have North Stars franchise, Barons franchise, and California Steelers franchise when you really get into the nitty-gritty of it, because of that merger that happened when Cleveland left. So, why did Cleveland leave? I did this with my first Defunct video with the Mystics. I'm doing it with my second video with the Barons. I think it's really obvious why the Barons left the NHL. They sucked. They were a bad team. Their top goal scorer didn't even hit 100 goals, which they only played 2 years, and you don't have a AAA player, so don't expect a 50-goal season. But with that said, when they were the Seals, they gave up a draft pick that turned into Guy Lafleur. So let's give that some thought. If the Seals got Guy Lafleur, would the Seals still be around? If the Seals were still around, would we not have the San Jose Sharks? Give that some thought. because the Sharks moved to San Jose. The Sharks franchise was granted because they wanted to put another team back in that area of California to play in the Cow Palace. But if they got Guy Lafleur, would they be a better team, and would they still be around today? Because, Guy Lafleur went to Les Canadiens de Montreal, and he played with them and won Stanley Cups with them. So, that's a little food for thought, I presume. And the Barons, just overall, they were a failed franchise that should have existed to begin with. It really should have never existed. And they are now a curiosity to hockey fans and hockey analysts and people that like the history of the game. They're a curiosity to people now because of how short their time in the league was, how little is really known about them, how little footage of them playing is out there. The photos of them out there are very scarce. The arena they played in, they had the Cavaliers, so people think of that stadium, they think of the Cleveland Cavaliers, they don't think of the Cleveland Barons. So, in conclusion, the Cleveland Barons were a failed team that shouldn't have existed, but now they're a curiosity to people, and people like to think of them and why they were there, what they could have done, and overall, what were they about, and why did those jerseys go to waste. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, don't subscribe, give it a thumbs down. I'd like to hear your comments on Cleveland Barons. Do you know somebody in your family or somebody that's a little older now that saw the Barons? Do you know anything about the Barons? Do you own anything for the Barons, like memorabilia or such? Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I love all the attention I'm getting on this channel, whether it be small or big. I appreciate it all, and it really means a lot that people watch these videos. So, I'm Logan, you're the audience. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again very, very soon in the next video. Thanks.